Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Daily Wolves here at GSPN. Although it's not been so daily the past week or so with the international break, but we're back, and I should introduce us. Of course, I'm Will, and I'm joined by Nathan today. Nathan, hello, how are we?
Hello, everyone. Hope you all had a happy international break.
Yeah,
and
I like
a nice
what you
welcomed
did
rest from watching Wolves week in, week out. But we're back into it soon enough.
Yeah, well, I was going to say it has been weirdly nice to sort of, have a weekend with no worries, no, sort of
No impending
disappointment.
doom.
Yeah. But, that's coming to a quick end with Man City at home.
Most likely.
Sunday.
Most likely.
Yeah, so just before we get on to all things Wolves, Nathan, I just wanted to run something past you because something's happened today. On our day of recording, something quite big in the world of football has happened.
It has. I think I know what you're alluding to.
Yes. And it's the fact that Thomas Tugel has been announced as the New England manager.
Indeed.
Now, it's
huge
been
news.
greeted with mixed responses, shall we say. I think that's fair to say. Yeah, and so I just wanted to get your initial reactions to it, really.
I've been scouring social media throughout the whole day, and I've spoken to a few mates about it and how we feel about the situation. I think I'm really happy with it. My overall thought is that we've got a manager now who is like your perfect tournament manager who's got experience managing players of, all sorts of top quality in various different teams across Europe.
Yeah.
He's got experience with some of the England players as well. As long as Mason Mount doesn't get another call up, then we'll be happy with that experience. But I mean, just happy overall. I understand that some fans want an English manager to manage England and all of that, but I think I saw somewhere that the last England manager to win a trophy was 2008, Harry Redknapp. Is that right?
Yeah.
I'm not. I think that still stands.
The League Cup or the Carling
something
Cup
like that. Something huge, right? But it's. I think that puts it in perspective. And since I've seen that stat, I've kind of gone, well, look. At the end of the day, we just want to have success. It doesn't matter who's guided us there. The backroom staff aren't always English. I guess maybe there's an argument to make a rule for it, but because it's not there, the FA have had a look. They've had a look around English managers, not found anyone that they thought is up to the bill, and they've just gone for the best choice, I think, out of what's available out there.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I'm genuinely buzzing with it. I think, I think it's the best option. You can only assume, we all know that the FA's first choice was understandably Pep Guardiola. You can only assume that either he turned it down or Man City just offered him however many times more than the FA were willing to afford. But no, I really, it's actually really annoyed me, the sort of the people who've reacted negatively to the appointment. I mean, I think it goes to show you that I think something's wrong when I actually find myself agreeing with Jamie O'Hara, who he came out and said, why is everyone moaning about Tuchel as the manager? It's a great appointment. Who cares if he's German? He's won the biggest trophies. He's a winner. That's what we wanted. It's a big upgrade on Southgate, and out of all of what's available, how can people complain? And I think it's a very, very valid point. I mean,
I completely agree. Agree.
And it's good as well because my first thoughts when I saw Tuchel's announced was I do want to know what O'Hara makes of it. So I'm glad he's come out.
Absolutely,
the
expert himself.
I just can't understand how people are unhappy with it. I can't.
Do you know what I've seen some people talk about how, right, when Italy beat us in the final of the Euros, was it Mancini in charge at the time? obviously Italian, and then the Spanish gaffer for the most recent one as well, sort of similar pathway to Southgate through the youth team.
Who was he? What's his name?
De La Fuente? Is it De La Fuente?
I don't know. He's just a little bald bloke with glasses.
Yeah, but sort of came in without having the kind of name behind him of having club management stuff. So similar to Southgate in that respect. So I can see what we tried to do with England, but it's not worked. And Southgate's brought the squad from a place where we were just so poor. In 2016, it was rock bottom sort of when he ended up coming in after Sam Allardyce.
Roy Hodgson. Oh yeah, it's Allardyce. Goodness me.
Our best manager of all time.
The most successful England manager. 100% win rate. Yes.
I think he's brought it to a better place, and I think as a squad and the whole kind of feel around the team is so much better than it was like 10 years ago. So he's done his job well, and now we've got a guy in place or coming in from January who's he's a tournament winner. That's what he does. And I think he'll take away some of the like emotional pressure aspect of it, because yes, of course he'll feel the pressure. He's been at big clubs and it's a massive role and all this, the politics behind him being German or whatever, but he's going to see the squad maybe without having the emotion of having to, I don't know, the English pressure. I don't know if that's
I know what you mean. I know what
various managers, but
I think the main thing that you mentioned there is it's that simple. Is that he's a winner? That's sort of the only complaint that I ever had with Southgate was that he was crucially not that. It was always close but not quite yet. But Tuchel's proven it's what everybody was after on paper, so I don't understand how people can't be happy with it. I've seen a headline from the Telegraph was that Germany would never consider appointing an Englishman as their head coach, and rightly so. And it's sort of, well, yeah, because oh no, they wouldn't appoint Graham Potter or Eddie Howe,
Gary O'Neill.
Gary
O'Neill if they wanted.
Exactly. It's no wonder that no other country would appoint an English one. We're not. So I mean, it's slightly. I can understand the negative aspects of it that way, in terms of it, reflecting how bad the coaching system is for our sort of homegrown coaches.
100%.
I get that, but again, I really couldn't care less where the manager comes from, so long as they're successful.
Agreed. I think in some way, some of the England coaches are advantaged and disadvantaged. So I'd say it's twofold. Like, they're disadvantaged because we're the most international league in the world. The biggest, the Premier League is the biggest footballing business there is out there. And
famously, an English manager has never won the English Premier League.
There we go. And that speaks for itself, right? It's it's hosted here, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's a difficult thing for them to sort of live up against the competition that is international. Whereas in other countries, you've got that, most of the managers in Spain are Spanish.
Yeah.
And then they'll have had more interaction with those Spanish players when they get to national team level. So they're up against it on that front. And then I guess it's positive in a certain way because the FA recently has been really favourable towards English international managers. There's been a lot of opportunities there. So there's a pathway for it. So, Carsley, Southgate, that it's rare that you have that many, I guess, that come through the ranks. Through the youth system.
Carsley prided himself on being Irish, if you remember. There's a whole thing about him not singing the national anthem. And did you not know that? I
completely missed that. No, I completely missed that.
See, here we go.
I'll hold my hands up there. That's a lack of research on my behalf.
No, but because someone asked Tuchel if he would sing the anthem. And he gave a very, very respectful answer saying that he doesn't know yet. He's not decided. I don't expect him to. I couldn't care less if he did or if he didn't. I mean, the English players and English managers, I can see the argument for they should, because more of the spirit of, you know, the unity of the football team. But
Yeah,
I can understand the politics behind him not. And again, I could not care less if he gets Harry Kane lifting a trophy.
yeah, exactly.
You know, but Tuchel himself has said how proud he is to be here, and he's proud to represent England. I want to put a second star on our shirt, is his quote. And look, Nathan, you know I love a quote, and that's done it for me. That's done it for me. It's coming home. It's coming home. I'm sold. I'm convinced. It's charmed me.
End of story.
But yeah,
no, I think it's positive. It's positive all round, and it was one of them. It's like the FA have made what you call, like, that's a big decision, isn't it? It's a big decision. They know the backlash that's coming off of it, and I think it's positive to see that they're willing to make that big decision. That's literally all about one thing in mind: winning the World Cup. That's it.
Yeah.
None of this being politically correct. Just we have to get a team with, at the minute, the amount of talent that's in it. We have to get a manager who's got the ability
to get the most
to winning
out of
a tournament. And I think if you look at the English managers out there, they are absolutely correct in saying, well, actually, none of them either have a track record or the ability to do so.
Yeah. And you speak there of big decisions, which reminds me that here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we've spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform, and Zencastr came out the clear winner. With 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs, it's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description to learn more about Zencastr. So that's
a shame. I was going to say, it's a shame Zencastr can't edit out my knowledge about Lee Carsley, but that's baffled me. That as like I did. Maybe that's me not paying attention at all. But so he identifies as Irish, is it?
Well, he refused to sing the national anthem, and because he was Irish, and
right.
Unless I'm somehow mistaken.
No. I think you're right, because it does kind of. Yeah, I remember there being some sort of news stories around this.
Does it ring a bell? Does it?
It rings a little bell, but I mean, so why are the same people outraged about Thomas Tugel then?
Yeah, it just goes to show, doesn't it? I mean, to be fair, I suppose it is different because Carsley was never more than an interim, and even that I think was pushing it. I wasn't even sold on him in that aspect. But look, that's a story for another day. It's a story for another day. You know, we've spoken a lot there about international football, and I think rightly so, with us being sort of gratefully distracted by it for the past weekend. But Nathan, the harsh reality awaits us. That
it does.
Wolves are back. We're back.
We are. We are so back.
Yeah. Man City at home this Sunday, as we'll discuss. That sums it up, doesn't it? I think
it does. I think it's been talked about even in the lead up to the Brentford game, wasn't it? It was like we were saying we need to pick up points against Brentford because we've got a 2-week break, and then it's City, and we're kind of just all expecting to not get anything out of the game based on how we've done so far this season. But look, anything can happen in football, and Wolves posted today on their YouTube the highlights from the 3-2 win at home in 2019. And I'm rewatching that.
5 years ago now.
Yeah, it's
5
insane.
years.
Yeah, I know. So, I mean, I rewatched that just before we started recording this now, and honestly, that still puts hairs up on my back. Like, it's what a game that was.
Onto his left.
Yeah. And I still think whoever was in goal for City then could have done better with it. Whoever the centre half was could have done better as well. I think it was Bravo.
Otamendi and Claudio Bravo.
There we go.
It sort of adds up, doesn't it?
We could do with them starting for City on Saturday.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Anything is possible, and I hope that the players that have been off on international duty, some of them I think may have gained a bit of bit of confidence.
Yeah.
We've got some of them have played. I don't know if we're gonna like this, but Ait Nouri and Lamina both played 2 full games, which they've done all right in. Ait Nouri with Algeria, they got 2 wins, and Lamina was a draw and a win. So I hope maybe I'm clutching at straws here, Will, to be honest, but. They've gone away and they've got some results, and hopefully that can maybe bring some positivity back into the group when Gary O'Neill sort of welcomes them back.
Yeah, I would have been interested to see, what the vibes have been like in this break down at Compton, because, I mean, we're still, as far as I'm aware, all under the opinion that, O'Neill's sort of on borrowed time thanks to this international break and the difficult run of fixtures. So it's interesting to see, or to think about how he would have been preparing for this Sunday. But yeah, I mean, you mentioned a few of the players there on international duty, both Ait Nouri and Lamina, sort of 2 of the first names on the team sheet for us, really. And with O'Neill alluding to switch into a back 5, you'd like to think that Santiago Bueno will be one of those players coming in. And he was off on international break as well, wasn't he, with Uruguay?
He was indeed. He played both full games for Uruguay, and so they lost to Peru, and they played a back 5, and he started in that. So I guess that doesn't bode necessarily super well. But the reports coming out of Uruguay from the little bit of reading that I did were fairly decent on his performances. And then they got a 0-0 draw against Ecuador as well, and that was he's starting in the back 4. And yeah, I think there's always been a little bit of positive energy around Santi Bueno. I don't know if I'm the only one who's kind of felt that. Maybe that's because of how poor some of the players have been that have started. I know when I say players, it's mainly Totti, really, who over the past couple of games has really looked like Bambi on ice. I think you said one of a previous podcast that he played football like he's wearing Doc Martens or something. And I can't get that saying out of my head every time I think about him passing a football around the back.
It's accurate. It's accurate.
It is. So, I don't know how he's going to set it up. From what we've said and from sort of the reports and his press conferences, you'd assume that he's going to go for a back 5 because he's voiced it and it's already something that's on his mind, and everything so far hasn't been working. But I don't know. Does he trust his squad? That seems to be the main thing for him. And we've spoken about how disappointed we are in like the lack of preparation in the squad going into the season. But I can't remember his exact quote, but he was basically saying that it'd be a risk playing his 3 only fit centre halves as a back 5. And to be honest, it's a risk, as you mentioned previously. It's probably a risk that's worth taking.
That's exactly it. I mean, it's either that or you run the risk of picking up no wins in your first 7 games, Gary. So, what would you rather do? Mental.
Yeah. And it's to be honest, at this point, it's not even about wins. We just need to get points on the board. So even if we take draws as they come as well.
Yeah. No, it's one of those. I mean, speaking to people at work and just throughout the week, you get the little jibes when you've had such a bad start to the season. But I had this conversation earlier today, and it's a conversation that people have asked me time and time again. And it's just, they'll just say, what is happening at the Wolves? What is going on? Because, they know our players. People know our players and know that we have quality. And there's a lot of good press and a lot of good coverage and positivity around O'Neill, obviously, last season. So people from the neutral point of view obviously don't know the whole story and what's going on with us and so on. But it's, our form has been that bad that, those neutrals are starting to cotton onto it now and question it and, point out how poor we are and how poor we have been. And like you said, it doesn't matter now about wins or whatever. It's just points. Just get something. Just,
Get stuff on
something
the
has to
board.
change. Yeah,
It has
100%.
to indeed. It has to indeed. I mean, there's just to kind of try and add some positivity to our chat here. Andre, again, was very, very solid over the international break and got some rave reviews. I mean, off the back of it, I saw an article saying that he's got the highest pass completion rate in the Premier League this season.
Yeah,
like
it doesn't give it
95% or
away.
something. I mean, look, that doesn't equate to points, unfortunately. But
no, yeah,
it's as we were saying, there's so much positive stuff or positive, I don't know, quality.
I mean, there's quality. Yeah, there's qualities
the
all throughout, no matter where you look. It's just, I personally think it's just come down to bad management this start of the season. I do find it funny though. I mean, you tried just there to add some positivity,
and it loops back round straight away, doesn't it?
No, but we started off this episode talking about Tuchel and all the sort of hopes and joys that came with that. And as soon as we got onto Wolves, just bit by bit, just the energy and the vibes just slowly dropped. And again, I think we're well within our rights.
Absolutely.
It's been as we mentioned at the start, it's been a welcome break for us recently to not have these worries or issues. But just before we speak more about the potential changes that we'd like to see coming up this weekend and going on for the rest of the season, I'd like to give a quick reminder that this podcast is part of the Global Sports Podcast Network, the only network bringing you exclusive news and views on your Premier League team, the Premier League, women's football and fantasy football. A unique listening experience that puts fans first, bringing you the very latest breaking news from your team. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and make us your first listen every day. Global Sports Podcast Network, every club, every day. But yeah, so Nathan, we've spoken a bit, as we mentioned, about Tuchel and the international break. We've touched briefly on O'Neill and where we see his faults and where his future lies. But there's a sort of big topic that I want to explore with you, if you'll allow me, because I mentioned just a moment ago that someone at work asked me just what is going on down the Wolves, and we were having this conversation, and it went on, and they were very, very confident that we would be fine and Wolves would stay up. I just wanted to know your thoughts on that, really, because I said before that, this is the most worried I've been personally about us from the past few seasons. But if you actually sit and think about it, because I was going to myself, I was thinking of the notion of there being three worse teams. You think of Ipswich, they're doing better than us currently. They shouldn't be, but they are. Southampton are probably on a similar pattern to us in a certain type of sense. I mean, they're playing a ridiculous sort of brand of football, if you like, and their possession stats are crazy, but they're not converting that into points. Everton are just a bit crap, but are still doing better than us. Do you know what I mean? You see where I'm going with this?
I see where you're going with it, and I dip into that train of thought from time to time that, I do think there are potentially more than three worse squads than Wolves' squad in the Prem this season. But unfortunately, people were saying this about that Fulham team. Like, it's too good to go down. I can't remember what season it was now. Lamina was part of it back then. Results have to change, because performances at the start were all right, and then there were certain little dips in games where we conceded goals. But then that last game against Brentford was shocking, and the performance was so bad. And that eventually happens if you're not picking up points. If your performances you've got nothing to show for them, then confidence goes down, and football's a confidence game. And I think So I hope that Gary O'Neill's found a way to make them feel somewhat confident, because I do think that on their day we can, challenge most teams or any team in the Prem. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. That doesn't really answer your question. I think answering your question, I think we will. I think we will. Deep down, I do think that we will still be all right, because my only reasoning behind it at the minute is the run of fixtures we have in November. That is the only thing that if we come out of the games against City and Brighton with okay performances, if the performances are all right and we're seeing something more positive than what we've seen against Brentford, then there is light at the end of the tunnel in my mind out of that November run where we've got a lot of the bottom half teams.
Just a quick question on that. If the performances are okay against City and Brighton, like you said, you're not expecting to pick up the results against them, which, by the way, is ridiculous. We beat City last year, and let's face it, Wolves on paper should be beating Brighton. I mean, they're just a plastic club that no one cares for. But that's the position we're in. Anyway, that's a whole nother story. I would like to apologise to any Brighton fans if you're listening. Not for what I just said. I'm just sorry to hear you're a Brighton fan. Anyway, but if you mentioned there the performances are better, do you keep O'Neill and kick on with him for the easier run of fixtures in theory?
I think that's what's going to happen. I think the boards. I don't know what Fosun are doing at the minute. It's so hard to understand where their intentions are. And O'Neill, does seem like their guy. They backed him from the start of the season, and they've not backed him in the transfer window, but he seems to have been agreeing all along with Matt Hobbs on the decisions behind the squad. So I don't see why. To be honest, I don't see who would be interested in coming to Wolves in this scenario. Because maybe people would be interested, but with all this stuff going on behind the scenes, it's hard to tell whether or not Fosun have just got O'Neill in because he's their kind of puppet to do whatever they want to do.
But just to round off the episode, do you have any hope whatsoever for us at home on Sunday?
I hope that Strand Larsen's been chatting away to his mate Haaland on international duty, and I hope he's just, I don't know, got some sort of insider information on what he's going to do. To be honest, Haaland probably told him, they're just going to launch it over the top, I'm going to run in behind and score 7 past you. But maybe he's giving him some more detail and he'll bring that back and we'll put it into play.
Well, to give you some context on my thoughts of it, in my fantasy team, I've got Haaland as captain and Bernardo Silva as vice captain.
Strong.
So that's where I'm at. But time will tell. Time will tell, and
it will indeed.
We'll be back again here at Daily Wolves throughout the end of the week, just to go in some more depth ahead of Sunday's fixture. But thank you everybody for listening. It's been nice to be back. It's been nice to be back, as much as it has been a nice break. And tune in again tomorrow.
Take care, everyone.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.